This is David Hupp with his Print Media Ministries. This third video in the series shows how to take a two-color gospel tract printed on a printing press like you see here in the picture, and on a printing press, and use the negatives for the optimum quality to scan it, recolorize it, and make it for printing on a color laser printer, which requires a lot less skill than a pressman who has to be able to repair the press on occasion and set it up and make the metal plates and keep the water balance and all those different things. These are what the two negatives look like that we're going to scan with, which require the specialty scanner with a full area moving backlight in the lid, which most scanners don't have. These negatives are used by graphic arts press people in the older days to expose in an exposure box with a strong light source printing plates that print up to 100,000 copies on an offset printing press. The scanner comes with a reflective light board that slips into the lid, and that has to be removed to expose the light source for doing negatives. When placing the negative on the glass of the scanner, one has a film limit area, a half an inch or so area, that cannot be scanned as you would be doing in a document. And so if the image is moved into that half-inch no scan area, the image that you get will not look like an image at all. The negative, here stripped up in a graphic arts mask, is placed with the shiny side down and allowing the no print area move down about a half an inch. Also, the part facing down, when you look through, you see that it appears to be read wrong. When a negative is scanned as an 8-bit grayscale, the resulting image that appears in Photoshop is a black and white, but yet on the printing press it was printed in the two of the colors you see here, a Pantone purple with the Pantone matching system, and down here a Pantone green, which are significant colors for the topic of the parade for which this track was designed, for Mardi Gras in New Orleans. Therefore, part of this video will be colorizing the scanned negatives, which appear black and white, and making them colored again with these two appropriate colors, and assembling the colors together, the two negatives, in Adobe InDesign for the purposes of printing it as a single composite on a color laser printer. There are two software options for scanning. The scanner has to be turned on before these installed softwares will work. The standard software, as you see over here with my shortcut on the desktop, is called Epson Scan 2, and the more expensive software that comes with the expensive scanner but has more options is called Silverfast 8.8. This is what the Epson Scan standard software looks like, and I'd like to call your attention to a couple things. Over here where it says document source, we're scanning from the transparency unit. We're scanning with a black and white negative film, and we're doing an 8-bit grayscale, and in this particular case we're doing a 600 dot per inch quality resolution with a scanning quality of high. And if you go under advanced settings, because we're doing a negative, you can see you can increase, set your contrast to be on 50 and your unsharp mask on low. Another very important thing, Epson says, when you're you have to focus the scanner, and it has to be manually focused to 0 because these larger negatives don't go in a holder, and therefore the focus has to be 0. So if you see right here, you click on manual focus in this drop down icon here, and then you adjust this focal position right here over to 50. Down here in the lower left corner you see preview. So with the scanner on, a person clicks preview and the scanner does a relatively rapid scan, and then one would seek to come over here and pull in these dotted rectangle so that there's nothing showing except what you want to scan. Otherwise it could get confused. The distributor in Florida of this SilverFast 8.8 software was able to take over my computer with my permission and demonstrate and come up with what he considered the best settings for using this more detailed software. So the first thing you'd see to go over here after you make your preview scan up in the corner over here, left upper corner, then you would set the negative and 16 to 8-bit here, and all the other details I'm going to show you in a moment in a Microsoft Word document, which you can pause and copy down the settings if you like. But the main thing, you pull in these, as in the Epson Scan 2, the borders, so that there's nothing but what you want showing. And see how interesting in this preview scan, all the mask and the black that was in the negative you saw that we started with is all turned into a positive and pretty much eliminated. Unwanted background. This is what the scanned unclean document looks like for one of the colors, the purple color. And so it's in Photoshop now, and if we zoom in, we'll be able to rotate the document, adjust image rotation 90 degrees clockwise. And so at 600 dots per inch you can zoom in and you can see that the negative does a pretty good job of having sharp letters and even reproducing some of the dots patterns that make up the screens. When I zoom in the unclean document up to the upper right corner, you see there's I don't know if you can see it, but there's a slight haze that has to be adjusted out. It picked up some background. To do that, we go under Image, Adjustments, Levels, and we move this down. And then you slightly move over to the left the highlight, and you can see it goes away. And then if you look at the lettering and you find out that the lettering needs to be a little darker in the document, you can slide this left slider over, which will darken any letters that seem to have blotches of gray in them. To repair flaws in the lettering, one can choose the pencil tool or the eraser tool, and the flipper down here between the black and the white will determine whether it draws black or draws white. So I'm going to fix this R a little bit by drawing in some more black. if one looks over the whole document, you see little specks of unwanted gray or black. So you would go down to the bottom of the palette over here and switch the white on the top, and then you can eliminate those unwanted background. The next step is to straighten the document if it's a little bit crooked. So we have to have a reference line. So when you click in the left ruler and drag out, use the black arrow tool, click in the left margin and draw out a line. And I'm going to line this line up with these two. You can line it up by holding the control key down. You can get it exactly where you want it, and you can see that the document is slightly crooked. So what one would do in that case, or you could draw a line down under a line of text, and you could see that it's slightly crooked that way when you zoom in. So in either case, one needs to go over here to image rotation, arbitrary, and go counterclockwise until I would say about at least maybe 0.1. And now if you watch, when I click on OK, the document turns a little bit and it's closer. You keep trying until it gets straight. Here's the document after it's been cleaned and straightened for the purple color. Here's the document that's been cleaned and straightened for the Pantone green color. As you can see, I use this center of fold mark as my reference point for getting the thing straight. The next step is to colorize the black you see here and turn it into a Pantone matching system Pantone purple color. So the image here is in a 8-bit grayscale mode. If you go under image up here, you see mode, it's in 8-bit grayscale, and we're going to change the black to the Pantone purple by going over here to duotone. And under duotone, we're going to go to monotone, which it's on, and then we're going to double click on this color here, and we're going to choose Pantone green right here and go OK. Now, there's one more thing we have to do, because these two colors are going to be combined together as a composite in another program by Adobe called Adobe InDesign CS5, a page layout program. That's going to require that one of the colors has a transparent background. And so we're going to get rid of this white background so it will not interfere with the other color. So what we're going to do over here is we're going to first of all, we're going to duplicate the layer. You see the layers palette, you don't see it. Here's the layers palette, and we have to duplicate the background. So we go under here, under layer, and we go duplicate layer, and background copy, OK. And now we're going to select the background with the magic wand tool, so we click on the magic wand tool. We have a tolerance up here of 1. We click it in the white area. It selects all the white. Then we press delete. And then we go select, deselect. And then we take the original background over here in the layers palette and we drag it to the trash. And then when you can see, when you zoom in now, that the background is transparent and it won't interfere with combining it with the purple color. Here's the purple color that we're going to add, Pantone purple. So as I said, first we have to, we don't need to eliminate the background on this because it won't interfere. It was the green we eliminated the background. So what we're going to do next is we're going to go up here to image, mode, duotone, and then we're going to double click on the green and select Pantone Purple and then press OK. So one thing you might notice is that the image was in a JPEG or a TIFF file format, and now it's changed into a Photoshop document, which makes editing easier. Now the time has come to open up Adobe InDesign, where we're going to place the two images. They use the word place. First of all, we have to set our page size, which I found out wasn't legal size because the printing press has to have extra room for grabbing onto the paper where it can't print. So the actual document is 8 inches tall by 13.5 inches wide. So I went under File, Document Setup over here, and I put in my width 13.5 and height 18.5, and I made it a landscape, and I put in my margins at 1/4 of an inch, and I put in for 4 columns. And the next step would be to reach into the margin when you're on the black arrow tool and drag out lines and put centering lines for your folds, and this one is a fold, this middle one's a cut, because you got 2 tracks per page. And then so that's the getting the what I call the template laid out, and then the fold marks and the cut mark in the half for the 2 up track. Is the next step is to add or place the color. So a person goes in here to the box tool with the X in it over here, rectangle frame tool, and we draw, zoom out perhaps. The negative is actually a little larger that we're importing than this, so we're going to draw a big box here, and then we're going to go File, Place, and then you find the cleaned. I find the document here that says Pantone Purple Color Added PSD Adobe Photoshop document. I double click on it, and there it opens up, and then it's all selected so I can move it with the Move tool or with the arrow keys. And so what I would do is I would use my arrow keys down here, and I would line up the top and the bottom cut marks with the blue line I drew in the center of the document side to side. And then I'd also want to move down. There's no other way of getting this thing centered up and down unless we just center these 2 cut marks equally. So you can make fine adjustments by going over here and looking at these numbers in the X and the Y and actually typing in 1/1000th of an inch difference, and it will move by a 1/1000th of an inch. Now one draws a second insert picture box. Under File, Place, I find my stored image for the Pantone Green Color Added Adobe Photoshop. Double click on it. It places into the document, and because the background is transparent, it doesn't interfere with the purple. So now the secret is to line up both colors by using the arrow keys, and you can see I can go down here, and I can also move sideways, and that's about, whoops, there's a little delay at the higher resolution. So you can see that's approximately how you get the 2 colors registered in InDesign. There's another possible issue here is once the colors are all registered, and you want to make a PDF, if you're printing out of InDesign, you can leave these, you may want to get rid of these marks here, the alignment marks. Here in the ready to go to make a PDF InDesign finished document, I put I go over here the same tool you saw before, the Xbox tool. I drew an Xbox like this, and then I went up here under the square up here, and I filled the box with paper, and then I moved the box with the arrow key tool and to cover over those 4 registration marks or cut marks, because they would show up in Photoshop and possibly bleed off the page into the mechanisms of the color laser printer. Before making the PDF, we have to look over here in what's called the links palette, and after we did the 2 places, we needed to go click on each one and go up here and go embed the document. The link's already embedded, so all I have is unembed, but each image has to be embedded in this InDesign document, so it stays with the document as it travels and makes the PDF. Now, making the PDF, one goes under the file. One may have to have the full version of Acrobat to be able to do this. Professional, that is. So one goes down to export, and then one chooses PDF, and then one goes save. And then one gives a name for where the PDF is going to be saved and what the title will be. So I did that here. Then we see different quality modes here. I did press quality modified, and over here output advanced, and so I tried to get the highest quality I could. And then one presses on export, and the document converts to PDF and then shows up in either Acrobat DC, the free reader, or your full version of this. Is the one thing I want you to notice in the Acrobat DC, because I covered over those, drew little boxes to cover up the registration marks and the cut marks on the top and the bottom and the middle, that you don't see those in Acrobat. They were showing the first time around when I didn't cover them up. So now let's zoom in and see what kind of quality we have. You notice yeah, so the quality is not perfect, but in a print size a person's not going to know. And then the next question is, how big is the file size? So I can easily download it, upload it to an internet website, and you go down to File and then Properties, and you see at Press Quality 600 dpi, the file size for this document is 1.32 megabytes, which is very reasonable for the quality we got. This concludes the training video on how to take a document, 2-color gospel tract document, formerly originally printed on a 2-color printing press from a metal plate made from a negative, to make it, convert it for a modern digital document on a computer that can be printed simply to a color laser printer, and get the best quality, use the negative and not try and scan a printed copy from the printing press, which picks up the texture of the paper and is not as good a quality. Thanks for watching.